I guess I'll read through the translation and then we'll...
Do the word meanings. Now we do the
word meanings. Now we're going to do the word meanings.
Yeah,
Okay. That's what I'm used to. Yeah. Please repeat. Evam.
Evam.
Thus.
Thus.
Swachite.
Swachite.
In one's own heart.
In one's own heart.
Swataha.
Swataha.
By his omnipotency.
By his omnipotency.
Eva.
Eva.
Certainly.
Certainly.
Siddhaha.
Siddhaha.
Fully represented.
Fully represented.
Atma.
Atma.
The super soul.
The super soul.
Priyaha.
Priyaha.
Very dear.
Very dear.
Artaha.
Artaha.
Substance.
Substance.
Bhagavan.
Bhagavan.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Anantaha.
Anantaha.
The Eternal Unlimited.
The Eternal Unlimited.
Tam.
Tam.
Unto Him.
Unto Him.
Nivritaha.
Vrittaha.
Being detached from the world.
Being detached from the world.
Niyata.
Niyata.
Permanent.
Permanent.
Artaha.
Artaha.
The Supreme Gain.
The Supreme Gain.
Vajeta.
Vajita.
One must worship.
One must worship.
Samsarahetu.
Samsarahetu.
The cause of the conditioned. The cause of the conditioned.
Cause of the
condition.
State of existence.
State of existence.
Uparamaha.
Uparamaha.
Cessation.
Cessation.
Cha.
Cha.
Certainly.
Certainly.
Yatra.
Yatra.
In which.
In which.
So I read through the translation and then...
Whichever one you like, either way.
Oh, okay. Translation. Thus being fixed, one must render service unto the super soul, situated in one's own heart by his omnipotency. Because he is the almighty personality of Godhead, eternal and unlimited, he is the ultimate goal of life, and by worshiping him, one can end the cause of the conditioned state of existence. Please repeat. Translation. Thus being fixed, one must render service unto the super soul, situated in one's own heart, by his omnipotency. Because he is the almighty personality of Godhead, eternal and unlimited, he is the ultimate goal of life. And by worshiping him, one can end the cause of the conditioned state of existence. Purport by His Mighty Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 1861, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the all-pervading, omnipresent Super Soul. Therefore, one who is a yogi can worship only him because he is the substance and not illusion. Every living creature is engaging in the service of something else. A living being's constitutional position is to render service, but in the atmosphere of Maya or illusion, or the conditional state of existence, the conditioned soul seeks the service of illusion. A conditioned soul works in the service of his temporary body, bodily relatives like the wife and children, and the necessary paraphernalia for maintaining the body and bodily relations, such as the house, the land, wealth, society, and country. But he does not know that all such renderings of service are totally illusory. As we have discussed many times before, this material world is itself an illusion, like a mirage in the desert. In the desert, there is an illusion of water, and the foolish animals become entrapped by such an illusion and run after water in the desert, although there is no water at all. But because there is no water in the desert, one does not conclude that there is no water at all. The intelligent person knows well that there is certainly water in the seas and oceans, but such vast reservoirs of water are far, far away from the desert. One should therefore search for water in the vicinity of seas and oceans and not in the desert. Every one of us is searching after real happiness in life, namely eternal life, eternal or unlimited knowledge, and unending blissful life. But foolish people who have no knowledge of the substance search after the reality of life in the illusion. This material body does not endure eternally, and everything in relation with this temporary body, such as the wife, children, society, and country, also changes along with the change of body. It is called samsara, or repetition of birth, death, old age, and disease. We would like to find a solution for all these problems of life, but we do not know the way. Herein it is suggested that anyone who wants to make an end to these miseries of life, in the repetition of birth, disease, old age, and disease, and death, must take to this process of worshiping the Supreme Lord and not others, as it is also ultimately suggested in the Bhagavad Gita, 1865. If we at all want to end because of our conditions of life, we must take to the worship of Lord Sri Krishna, who is present in everyone's heart by his natural affection for all living beings, who are actually the parts and parcels of the Lord. Bhagavad Gita, 1861. The baby in the lap of his mother is naturally attached to the mother, and the mother is attached to the child. But when the child grows up and becomes overwhelmed by circumstances, he gradually becomes detached from the mother, although the mother always expects some sort of service from the grown-up child and is equally affectionate toward her child, even though the child is forgetful. Similarly, because we are all part and parcel of the Lord is always affectionate to us, and he always tries to get us back home, back to Godhead. But we, the conditioned souls, do not care for him and run instead after the illusory bodily connections. We must therefore extricate ourselves from all illusory connections of the world and seek reunion with the Lord, trying to render service unto him, because he is the ultimate truth. Actually, we are hankering after him as the child seeks the mother. And to search out the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we need not go anywhere else, because the Lord is within our hearts. This does not suggest, however, that we should not go to the places of worship, namely the temples, churches, and mosques. Such holy places of worship are also occupied by the Lord, because the Lord is omnipresent. For the common man, these holy places are centers of learning about the science of God. When the temples are devoid of activities, the people in general become uninterested in such places, and consequently the mass of people gradually become godless, and a godless civilization is a result. Such a hellish civilization artificially increases the conditions of life, and existence becomes intolerable for everyone. The foolish leaders of a godless civilization try to devise various plans to bring about peace and prosperity in the godless world under a patent trademark of materialism. And because such attempts are illusory only, the people elect incompetent, blind leaders, one after another, who are incapable of offering solutions. If we want at all to end this anomaly of a godless civilization, we must follow the principles of revealed scriptures like the Srimad Bhagavatam, and follow the instruction of a person like Sri Sukadeva Goswami, who has no attraction for material gain. Translation. Thus being fixed, one must render service unto the super soul situated in one's own heart by his omnipotency. Because he is the Almighty Personality of Godhead, eternal and unlimited, he is the ultimate goal of life. And by worshiping him, one can end the cause of the conditioned state of existence. Oh, it's already 8 o'clock, huh?
Yeah.
Wow, it flies so fast. It's amazing. Okay, our Prabhupada mentions in the purport 1861. And it's Ishvar Sarvabhutanam Hidesha Juna Tishtati Brahmayan Sarvabhutanam Bhutani Yantra Bhutani Maya. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, or Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities, or is seated as on a machine made of material energy. That's a verse I used to quote to the motorcycle Harley Davidson guys. They love that verse. They'd ask me to write it down. Seriously, that's how much they... Because, it's perfect for them. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, or Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings. Just like on a motorcycle, they travel all over the country. Who are seated as on a machine, which they are, made of material energy. So they really like that one. Up at Rani Sevika, we had Lynchburg, and all those Harley Davidson gentlemen would come there. It's a big tourist attraction.
They tour. They go on these things where they have to go to certain places every weekend, and they get points or something.
Points.
And that place, Lynchburg, is the Harley Davidson capital.
I think they call it some type of poker tour.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. They pick up cards as they go along to each stop.
Right.
And at the end, they see the one in the hand, the poker hand. That's what they told me anyway. But they were always great donators because they always pull out a lot of money. The lawyers, doctors, and they'd always easily give good money. And even carry a ticket book or two sometimes. But Prabhupada also mentions 1865 later in the purport. So I'm just going to read the verses between these two verses. So the Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, or Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities, or is seated as on a machine made of material energy. In the purport, the next verse, O Skana Bharata, surrender unto him utterly. By his grace, you will attain transcendental peace and the supreme and eternal abode. So the Lord is telling Arjuna to surrender to the Lord in the heart, which of course we call Paramatma. Thus I have explained to you the most confidential of all knowledge. Deliberate on this fully, and then do what you wish to do. Because you're my dear friend, I'm speaking to you the most confidential part of knowledge. Hear this from me, for it is for your benefit. Always think of me and become my devotee. Worship me and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my dear friend. In the purport, Prabhupada says, the most confidential part of knowledge is that one should become a pure devotee of Krishna and always think of him and act for him. One should not become an official meditator. Life should be so molded that one will always have the chance to think of Krishna. One should always act in such a way that all his daily activities are in connection with Krishna. He should arrange his life in such a way that throughout the 24 hours he cannot but think of Krishna. And the Lord's promise is that anyone who is in such pure Krishna consciousness will certainly return to the abode of Krishna, where he will be engaged in the association of Krishna face to face. This most confidential part of knowledge is spoken to Arjuna because he is the dear friend of Krishna. Everyone who follows the path of Arjuna can become a dear friend of Krishna and obtain the same perfection as Arjuna. In the next verse, that was the verse, the last verse he was referring to, because he mentioned in purport 1865, and that's 1865. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. And of course, everyone knows pretty much the summation verse of Bhagavad Gita, 1866. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Sarva dharma prachaja mamekam saranamaja aham tvam sarva pabhyo moksha shami machi sacha. as Prabhu says, the karmis, they really can't offer much knowledge. Prabhu said that for thousands of years, thousands of authors have written thousands of books, and still there's no peace or happiness in this world. He said this is due to a spiritual vacuum. This treasure house of knowledge that Prabhupada has delivered to the world is here in the material world. To he who knocks, it shall be opened. To he who seeks, they shall find. And this is proof of that. And of course, as devotees, because, devotees surrender, we're rewarded. Well, at least other devotees are. I'm still waiting to surrender. Krishna says that those who are on this path are resolute in purpose and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched. He says, Yoginam api sarvesham mad gata ramana shraddha ban bhajateyo mam swame yukta tamo mataha. And of all yogis, he who always abides in me with great faith, worshiping me and transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. Therefore, one who is a yogi can worship only him because he is the substance and not the illusion. Every living creature is engaged in the service of something else. Prabhupada says, if we have to serve something else, which we always are, we're serving our family, our country, our boss, we're serving any animals that we own, or we take care of, And it says, well, if you have to serve others, why not make that other Krishna? Why not? It's not that complicated. What could be more natural than that, And people talk about natural. I was talking to Fayette last night, and I was just saying that, what else is there? What could be more natural than devotional service to Krishna, And what else could attract us or pull us away from Krishna, But because we have material interests, we're conditioned souls, from time immemorial, we do become interested in mundane subject matter. Even though the living entity, we know he takes his birth, he grows, he maintains for some time, he produces byproducts, he gradually dwindles and then vanishes into oblivion in the 6 phases of life, Even though we know that, we're deep in illusion, in this material world. Very deep in illusion. A living being's constitutional position is to render service, but in the atmosphere of Maya or illusion, or the conditional state of existence, the conditioned soul seeks the service of illusion. A conditioned soul works in the service of his temporary body relatives like the wife and children, and the necessary paraphernalia for maintaining the body and bodily relations, such as the house, land, wealth, society, and country. But he does not know that all such renderings of service are totally illusory. But of course, one person said, but what happens with the family? We still have to do service. We can't neglect that. Prabhupada says, if you include Krishna in your life and make him the center of the family, then the family becomes polished, and family's activities become polished, And of course, everyone's happy, and that's an important, happy family. How often do you see that, actually? Not very often. Prabhupada says, if a devotee is not actually happy in Krishna consciousness, then he's not actually following the process. He says he's just making a show, And that's what I usually do most of the time. I just make a show. And sometimes they get serious. Sometimes they're more serious. But I remember when I first joined, I was very serious. So therefore, the more serious you are, the more taste you get. That's the biggest taste I ever got the first few years of devotional service in the movement. Because I just accepted everything they said is, these people are perfect. I don't want to find any fault with anybody. These people are the most perfect people I've ever seen, I've ever met. And they have my full adoration, you know what I mean? I was from the country, I wasn't from a big city, so I wasn't used to a lot of negative energy, And I was so thankful. I've been suffering and looking for so long, that when I was exposed to Krishna consciousness, I just latched on to the devotees' lotus feet, And every little bit of instruction, a little bit of nectar they wanted to share with me, I relished. I really did, Anyway, I feel very fortunate to take shelter of the devotees, beg for their mercy, and every day I pray, especially before I go to sleep, that I pray for the dust of the lotus feet of all my holy God brothers and sisters, I just pray for the dust of the lotus feet. We all have different, I was thinking about this today, there's all the different generals on the battlefield. They have all their different personalities. Even in the Civil War, there was Grant, and, there's all these big generals, they all have their different personalities. They all have their personal traits, faults, whatever, So I was thinking, there's some great devotees who are in a position of power that not everybody necessarily agreed with, but they have their own personalities, And the important thing is we're pushing on Prabhu's movement. But of course I always feel that, let's not burn anybody out while we're doing it. You know what I mean? Let's value every single soldier on the battlefield, That's how I felt about it. But I was amazed also because I was warned that familiarity breeds contempt. And it was just this one devotee had a problem with, and we were both on the band party. But we're so engaged that we hardly ever saw each other. But when we did, we were like nitpicking one another. It exploded like one day. It was, but I could see by that as long as we're engaged, you know what I mean, we'd be distracted from each other, just like picking at one another. He was the only devotee I ever had a problem with, and still to this day he remembers that. I remember it too. It makes you feel bad. I remember Guna Grahi. He said that if your taste for devotional service diminishes, then it simply must backtrack and try to figure out which devotee I offended. I thought, wow, that's so deep. That's so deep, Wow. Because he says that we're not even aware sometimes that we're offending devotees, We're not even aware of it. But he says that if for some reason your taste for devotional service diminishes, just retrace your steps and you might be able, because you have to go to that devotee and beg their forgiveness, you know what I mean? Which is amazing. Everything in this movement is personal. Before I go on to reading about Vrindavan Das Thakur, this is Appearance Day. By the way, all glories to Mother Ekadasi also today. Does anybody have any questions, comments?
Well, that verse about the Super Soul, the 1861, one comment is that Prabhupada would often say that when the soul becomes serious or interested about spiritual life, Super Soul directs that soul towards a bona fide guru.
Yeah, I remember that lecture. It says, Chaita Guru, the Guru within. And then it says, take initiation from this spiritual master.
Yeah, and then you would also say that, the cheaters and the cheated, those people like were going with Guru Maharaj Ji or something like that in those days. They obviously were being, they seemed to want spiritual life, but they wanted it on their terms. Not full surrender.
Are you familiar with this, Prabhuji? Because, Fit heard this the other day, and he asked me about it. He said, is it true what I heard a devotee ask Prabhupada? Is it true that if a devotee can't chant the Mahamantra, that Yamaraj may be punishing him?
Yeah, I just heard that myself recently. I think I did hear that. I don't know where I heard it, but I just heard it recently. Yeah, possible. But if you take shelter of the Parampara and Lord Chaitanya, you might get the mercy. Maybe not chant, but you can hear it.
Yeah. There's so much mercy out there. It's just, I really want to try to steer away from committing offenses to devotees, because I can wipe out all my spiritual life, like that type of thing, you know. Anybody else? Comments, questions? Yes, Prabhu.
There's a pretty amazing section in here about the desert. That, if you're in the desert and you don't see water, we shouldn't conclude water doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to go where water is,
Yeah.
and that's the ocean, so find it. And other...
When I read that yesterday, I was thinking, Prabhupada thinks so big. You know what I mean? It says if he's seen the whole world, he's never been out of India, you know. But he's just such a big thinker.
The Vedas is so amazing. The other point was that we're all looking for eternal life and knowledge and happiness. And that's what we are
That's what
as
we
a
are.
soul.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're really looking for the soul. We're looking for ourself, our real self.
Yeah. You know, I hate to talk about movies, but there's an old movie, 1986 or so. It was called Crocodile Dundee, you know. And it was talking about the walkabout, the natives, they want to walk about. And there was a native that just showed up in the middle of the night. And the lady asked Crocodile Dundee, who was raised by those Aborigines, how does he walk in the middle of the night in darkness? How does he know where to go? Wait all They have a two-step snake in Australia, the brown snake. You get bit and take 2 steps and basically die, that's what they say. You know? But, and he was saying he just follows his inner voice. You look everywhere, you find evidence of super soul, and everywhere, you know, in culture.
That's Gorkishore Babaji showed up one time in the dark, after the night of something. He had come and was blind, he couldn't see, but he showed up anyways. And it was either Bhaktivinoda or Bhaktisiddhanta asked him, how'd you get here? Oh, somebody showed me.
It's so amazing.
My calendar, my Vaishnava calendar says tomorrow is Vrindavan Das Thakur's appearance.
Is that why it didn't pop up on my calendar?
I don't know, the calendars.
Oh, really?
I don't know, is it?
What should we do in a case like this? Oh my God,
Well, if you have something there, go ahead.
Yeah, if you're prepared.
Vedavyas became Vrindavan Das Thakur. Krishna's friend, Kushumapita, also entered into him for special purposes. See, Vedavyas described Krishna Lila in Srimad Bhagavatam, non-different from Vyas. Vrindavan Das described Mahaprabhu's life in his Chaitanya Bhagavat. His book was first called Chaitanya Mangala, but when Lochana Das gave the same name to his biography of the Lord, it was dubbed Chaitanya Bhagavat. Vrindavan Das' mother, Narayani. Vrindavan Das was born on the Krishna Dvadashi of the month of Vaishakha in 1429 of the Shaka era. Some say he was born in Mamgachi in the Nawab area. Others say his birthplace was in Kamarahata. His father was Vaikuntha Nata Vipra, who originally came from Shayet. His mother, Narayani Devi. Narayani was the daughter of Sri Vas Pandit's elder brother.
Srivas Pandit?
Huh?
Which Pandit?
His mother, Narayani Devi. Okay. Narayani was the daughter of Srivas Pandit's elder brother, Sri Nalina Pandit. Kavi Karna Purna has also mentioned her name in his Gaura Ganodesha Dvipika. it's mentioned Kilambika, who used to eat Krishna's remnants, was the younger sister of Krishna's nurse, Ambika. In Mahaprabhu Leela, she became Narayani. Narayani also achieved fame because she received Gaura Sundar's mercy when he gave her his remnants. When the Lord displayed his divine form in the Mahaprakasha in Srivas Angan, Narayani was only a small child of 4, but the Lord made her intoxicated with the ecstasy of prema. Whether born in Mama Gachi or in Kumarahata, Vrindavan Das later lived in the village of Venuriya, within the Matreshvara precinct of Bardhaman district. Thus, Venuriya is considered to be his Shripat. He spent some of his childhood with his mother in Mamagachi at the home of his maternal grandparents, where Narayani was married. Vrindavan Das's Gaudintai deities were still worshipped at the Mamagachi home. When his father died, he and his mother moved to Srivasa's house, where he received Mahaprabhu's special blessings. Vrindavan Das writes Chaitanya Bhagavatam. Because of the copious blessings he received from the Nityananda Prabhu, Vrindavan Das is said to have been his initiated disciple. Vrindavan Das is the recipient of Nityananda's blessings. He is the original Vyas of Chaitanya's pastimes. And that is Chaitanya Charitamrita 3:20-82. He wrote Chaitanya Bhagavat in 1535 AD. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita, has written the following in praise of Vrindavan Das Thakur. Vrindavan Das, the son of Narayani, wrote the Chaitanya Mangala. Vedavyas described Krishna's life in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and Vrindavan Das in the Vyas of Chaitanya Leela. Just as Vyasadeva compiled Lord Krishna's pastimes in Srimad Bhagavatam, Thakur Vrindavan Das depicted Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. His Chaitanya Mangala annihilates all misfortune. From it, I learned the wonders of Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda, and came to know all the most subtle doctrines of devotional service to Krishna. Vrindavan Das Thakur has summarized the essence of the teachings of the Srimad Bhagavatam in his Chaitanya Mangala. If even a Muslim or an atheist should listen to Chaitanya Mangala, he immediately becomes a great Vaishnava. An ordinary human being could not have composed such a sublime work. Lord Chaitanya himself has spoken through the mouth of Vrindavan Das, offering millions of obeisances unto the lotus feet of Vrindavan Das. Thakur, who has delivered the entire universe through his book. He is born in the womb of Narayani, who eternally enjoys Sri Chaitanya's remnants. How wonderful is his description of the activities of the Lord, simply by hearing which the 3 worlds have become sanctified! Vrindavan Das became so absorbed in the description of Nityananda Prabhu's Leela that he did not elaborately relate all of Mahaprabhu's activities, only summarizing them in abbreviated form. Krishna Das then elaborated on these undescribed activities in his Chaitanya Charitamrita. Vrindavan Das, the authorized biographer of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and equal to Srila Vyasadeva. Vrindavan Das, the authorized biographer of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and equal to Srila Vyasadeva. Period. He has described the Lord's pastimes in such a way as to make them sweeter and sweeter. I shall try as far as possible to fill in the accounts he left out of fear of excessively enlarging his book. Vrindavan Das criticisms of Vaishnava Aparad. Okay, this is a different section. Vrindavan Das criticisms of Vaishnava Aparad. Vrindavan Das primarily Mahaprabhu's early activities, such as his pastimes as a student, his childhood, his chastisement of the Kazi, his departure from Navadvip, as well as some aspects of his life in Puri. Vrindavan Das Thakur demonstrated infinite mercy on the fallen souls by warning them here's this warning. Even after being told how objectionable it is, if someone still blasphemes the Vaishnavas, then I will kick them. I will kick them in the head. Oh, that'd be a blessing. These same words are repeated in the Adi, Madhya, and Antya Kandas of the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Some foolish, arrogant persons misunderstand such statements and criticize Vrindavan Das for having made them. Such criticism leads them into the mud of offensiveness. In this connection, the remarks of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur, the founder of the Sri Chaitanya Math, and all of the Gaudiya Maths are well worth studying. Quote, I am ready to kick the heads of those envious and hellish persons who blaspheme the Inanna Prabhu. If by so doing, I will be able to forever prevent them from repeating their attempts to show disrespect for the Supreme Lord. Period. Not only that, but if by so doing, I can bring about a clear, okay, actually, that must be a typo, a clear conception of the truth, I will be performing them the greatest service. End quote. So says Vrindavan Das, the incarnation of Vyasa and Acharya of the Vaishnava faith. If even a single fleck of dust should fall from his foot on the head of a sinful blasphemer, then that person will be blessed and all his sinful conditioning will inevitably be eradicated. In words which embody the goddess of learning and a flood of pure devotion, the Thakur reveals compassion for even the most ascetic blasphemer with the unserene faith appropriate to a certain Inanna Prabhu, the Supreme Guru. He tells them that though they should be the object of indifference due to their foolishness, nevertheless, because of their ignorance of the truth of the Inanna, their insistence on rushing headlong on the path to hell, and their reluctance to act in their own real self-interest, he and other compassionate Vaishnavas like him, who practice and preach the Lord's doctrines, unselfishly and disinterestedly act for their welfare. The compassion which is manifested in Vrindavan Das's statement is beyond the comprehension of those who have no understanding of what is truly in their self-interest. Anyone who follows in the footsteps of Vrindavan Das, incarnation of Vyasa, and both practices and preaches the Vaishnava religion, is always engaged in an effort to bring about the ultimate well-being of everyone. Though he may make a superficial show of wishing to punish the enemies of the Lord, in fact, he harbors a compassion toward them which knows no limit. Vrindavan Das Thakur's disappearance day is the... I thought this is appearance day. Vrindavan Das Thakur's disappearance day is the Krishna Dashami of Vaishakha. There is some dispute the exact year of his disappearance, which was likely 1511 Shaka. Excerpted from Sri Chaitanya, his life and associates of Srila Bhakti Bhagavatam Maharaj. That's pretty nice.
You know, you're talking about blind, that thing you were saying, that Krishnadas Kaviraj says that, you know, he was blind when he wrote the Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Yeah.
It was being dictated to him by Radha Madan Mohan.
And his fingers and everything.
Yeah.
You know how he was able to
how
do
he
it.
was able to do it.
That's so incredible.
Yeah.
And Krishna's mercy.
Krishna's mercy, yeah.
Anybody else?
They were that reminded me when Kukulindu was talking about the empowerment of
Krishna.
the Lord, that when Prabhupada came, I mean, I don't know, I read it in the Vyasa Pushanas, that Malaji was explaining how Krishna was on Prabhupada's shoulder when he was writing. Of course, we also know that I did not write these books, that my spiritual master and Krishna.
Yeah.
You know, his purports is so phenomenal, though, you know. So.
I've always wanted to do an authorized painting of Krishna somewhere near while he's writing. But, you know, I mentioned it, and somebody would say, well, you know, better make sure it's pretty authorized or do it the right way, you know. I'm not quite sure, because I know you'd be real affectionate, you know what I mean? And looking over. Have you wanted to paint something
I
like that?
never thought that one. I wouldn't paint him sitting out like a little.
No, not like that.
Yeah.
I just mean looking over his shoulder, like he's sitting, probably sitting down. You know, down where Krishna is just a little child,
If
you
you
know.
want to paint that, I think you should paint it. I don't see why you authorize. It's authorized. Krishna was there with Prabhupada. You
Yeah.
paint it the best you can. Paint a picture of Prabhupada speaking or something, and Krishna standing there, you know.
Yeah. Anybody else have anything to say?
Well, I just started to get this image of, since we're talking about the super soul, directing wanderings, you have somehow or other the super soul, you know, Prabhupada sitting there, and the super soul is sort of there in his heart, and you see somehow the super soul's arm moving Prabhupada's hand.
That's harder.
Yes, I know.
That's a lot harder.
But you know, the affection of Krishna, just like, you know, Prabhupada's shoulder's right here, and little Krishna,
Yeah.
half his body's showing, and he's right there looking over his shoulder while he's writing. I would just love to.
He said, they asked Prabhupada, why do you want to listen to your lectures, or why do you want to read your books? He said, because I didn't write these books, Krishna wrote them.
I agree, like we're talking about the super soul. If you're painting, I'm sure
The
the super
super
soul
soul,
gives you that intelligence.
And then you do a painting, and in the painting, you show the artist of the painting being dictated by super soul.
Picture of Mayapur.
A picture.
A picture within the
I'm
picture.
canvas is Prabhupada with Krishna, and then next to him.
Sit back there,
Then
rub my
you see the
head.
people-
Should I, should I not
The
paint
people
this?
watching who stop to look at the picture are being directed to the picture by super soul.
Yeah.
It expands his hands.
Well, you know, I mean, every time we go out, people tell us, where have y'all been? I've seen y'all for 30 years, you know? You know what I mean?
The Rath Yatra we did in Nashville in 2010, I think it was, and there were some people, the college students said, "I've never heard of you, I've never seen you," like that, and then there were other people saying, "Where the heck have you guys been?" You know, like that. It was that first Rath Yatra we did in Nashville was really ecstatic.
I think we have a way of, you know, especially nowadays, we float in, you know, like kind of Nardamuni, even though we're not Nardamuni, but kind of float into an area, you know what I mean? Gentle, you know what I mean? And entertain the people. And it just seems like that now. It's like even in the French Quarter, you know, you get told us when it first started, you know, keep moving. That they want us to keep moving, you know, and don't block entrances. And people are smiling, and we're dancing, and we're smiling at them, and you know. And that one time, I probably already told you this some time ago, but we were getting out, and I was dressed as a karmi because I was distributing, you know, books, but used to dress as in a dhoti. But then so they were behind me. There were like 5 devotees. Mother Krishna was there, and Mr. Deve and Daniel. Maybe 3, 4, 5. So they were doing their kirtan, and we just got out of the car, so I was just ahead of them by about 30, 40 feet. And the husband was getting this lady out of the car, you know. He was on Rampart Street, that's where it was. She says, "Honey, look, it's the Krishnas," you know. And he didn't see me as our Krishna because I had karma clothes on. So I got to see that genuine expression, and he was getting her out of the car. "Honey, look, it's the Krishnas." And the excitement in his voice just like made my day, you know. And people have a better impression of us these days. You know, people are much more open-minded. And we meet people all the time, every time we go into Walmart, you know what I mean, or anywhere. And they want to hear about, "Oh, really, I didn't know a place like that. Really, y'all been here that long? Wow, that sounds interesting." It doesn't mean they're ever going to show up, but yeah, I need a little yoga in my life, you know what I mean.
How do you find people in Walmart who want to hear?
Easy.
I wear my sari, and nobody shows a drop in.
Well, see, they have no idea why you're dressed that way. But what I do is I approach them like this. If they're in the bread aisle, I'll tell them, "Hey, you know, that whole wheat bread right there, I've tried them all. That's the best one." I need a conversation going. So easy.
You do like that.
You know, yeah, and the guys, "Hey, you do martial arts?" The young guys, you know, that always works. "Oh, I guess he thinks they do martial arts, so it breaks the ice and boosts their ego." And they want to talk, you know. And when I tell them, "Hey, you know, the movie Doctor Strange, he had to study Sanskrit to study ancient texts to actually get his mystic powers. They made a movie about it, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And there's all kinds of things like that, you know. And they said, oh, really? Wow, that's cool. Because they knew. Most of them know he had to study the English language, to study the ancient books, to get his powers, you know. And that's just one example. But then the ladies, of course, I just ask them, hey, do you do yoga, man? You know? And of course, that boosts their ego right there. Oh, I guess he thinks I do yoga. I must look really good, you know, like that. And it works every time. You just get a conversation going. But they don't know why you're dressed that way. They'd like to find out why you're dressed that way. I know they would. But how do you get to that point?
I have no trouble with that initial conversation. I've never been any good at that. So that's my.
Yeah. Follow Paramatma.
Mama doesn't.
What I'm trying to say is, I'm no one to. I'm no one. What do I know? You know.
What I see is because he's so surrendered. I'm not surrendered like you. I go with my husband. I do this with yesterday. But because he's so surrendered, people come to him.
Yeah.
I've
You've
seen
been
it
there
so
with
many
him?
times when I was on there.
Oh, you've been with him?
On Harryland, and when we would go to the Walmart, I'd be sitting in the car while Daniel and the rest of them, both men.
There was a lady.
And men would come. I mean, ladies and men would come to him. It's like young people. I mean, he'd
You're
come
very
out of the
kind-minded.
car and he'd say, "Give me a book, give me a book."
But you know what? There was a lady in the pharmacy, Walmart, one of the last times we were there, and she was like this. And she's like 60-year-old. I know she's probably Catholic, you know, and she doesn't look very happy. She was like this, you know, waiting for a prescription, whatever. I said, wow. I just made a comment like, you look like you're not real happy with today or something. Just like laughing at the same, like laughing. And then she started smiling, you know. And so we had a conversation from there, and sure enough, she pulled her Catholic cross out. But nothing bad ever came of it. She never said anything bad. Because I said, you know, there's a really nice, natural, organic yoga farm. I say organic and yoga in the same sentence right close by here, and it's like open house on Sundays, you know. And usually they'll say something good like, oh yeah, yoga, yeah, I've wondered about that, I thought about doing that, you know. Natural food, oh yeah, you know. And so it's fun. It's fun.
Then you give them a book or something? You give them a book then or something?
Yeah, I always have index cards, and then the card for the farm right here. So in Walmart, I can't get chastised for soliciting a book because I only occasionally do that to the more serious ones, you know. It's professional yoga. They can't see it. It's in my pocket. They're in my pockets, you know. They can't see that. I can whip it out if I need to, give it to them. But I give them websites to write down the index cards, you know. It's fun. It's so much fun because to figure out the way to get to them. You know what I mean? Because they're already our friends, you know. In the spiritual world, we're all friends. Just how do I build that bridge? You know what I mean?
See, I'm just figuring out on how the way to get out of Walmart so my wife doesn't spend any more money.
Yeah, when I'm by myself, that's after the plan.
Yeah,
I can't do it with my husband.
Yeah, because
when I'm by myself, I was doing.
you were doing cookies. You were doing cookies and garlands. And
Yeah, but I go with my husband.
What's her name? French Maharani was just here.
She does it.
There'd be flower garlands and everywhere. We go everywhere and
Yeah.
see. I remember driving by the church, the Catholic church, and there was flower garlands on Mary and all the saints. I said, who's doing that?
where was that at?
Here in town.
In town, somebody's putting flower garlands.
I don't know if she still does it, but she used to do it.
Oh, just go and put it on
Mary.
Yeah.
Put it on the statue of Mary, or sometimes you go into a tire place and the guy's got a flower garland.
But the priest comes out and says, wow, they honor Mary. It's so
Yeah.
beautiful.
They don't know it's.
Well, you know, there is a day in Maine that you're supposed to, there's I forget what it's for, but they decorate her with flowers and they have a pageant, they carry her. I don't know if they do it here, but we used to do it when we were younger. So that's a natural thing to give Mary flowers.
On her appearance day or something.
Something like that. I don't know what it is exactly. But the Protestants, they don't like Mary.
Oh.
They don't want to hear about it.
Well, how can you find fault with Mary?
I don't know. It's only Jesus. It's Jesus.
Glory to Shishi Glory Jai, Shishi Radha, Glory to Prabhupada Ki Jai. Glory to some devotees Ki Jai.